Hey, what's going on, guys? Oxford here. I'm bringing you the Resident Evil 4 Remake PC settings. 2 huge thumbs up on the PC version. Capcom did an outstanding job with the PC version. We're playing on Steam. We have everything maxed out. I'm going to go over all the settings right now in this video. So here you go. You have a plethora of controls here. So you have your button icon type, which I found awesome. So if you guys are like me and you use a PlayStation 5 controller on the PC version, you have your button prompts here. You go over to type B and C, and you'll see that you quickly have your Xbox control scheme there. So this is super sick. I love it. I dig it. You move down here, you have control type. Then you have your run type. You can toggle or hold. Moving down further, you have your crouch type, toggle, hold. Now, this is interesting here. I just found this out literally 5 minutes ago. I didn't know there was a quick turn. I could not find it. I played this demo 5 or 6 times. Didn't know there was a quick turn. The answer is yes. Quick turn. Look on the bottom right side. You'll see quick turn down and R1. We're all used to seeing down and circle or B, depending on your controller of choice. Here, by default, it's going to be down and R1. You can change this to whatever you like. So if you do like your down and circle, which I actually may end up doing a little bit later, that's what I'm used to. So you have the option to do that. Okay. This game has a parry system, which is super sick. They do allow you to change your parry button to R2, which I don't like. Me personally, I'm always used to playing games with a parry system of L1 or left bumper, depending on a controller. Here we have repeated input type. You can tap repeatedly or hold, your choice. I think tap repeatedly is pretty sick. Then you have your key bindings, adjust mouse and keyboard controls here. If we hit that, you're gonna have all your typical mouse and keyboard settings here. So there's a ton to go through for the PC version. I found this interesting here. This is the aim assist type. You can snap or snap and follow. This is gonna be for controller users like myself. Snap is basically when you press L2, the reticle is going to snap to the enemy immediately in case you like that kind of crutch, which me personally, I like to use. You do have even a further crutch here, right? Now you have snap and follow. So what that means is once you aim, it's going to follow the enemy around. And then you can also adjust the aim assist max speed of the sensitivity of how much it follows. So if you're looking for that for gamepad users, it is there. Thumbs up for Capcom to add that. Auto reload, simple here, off and on your auto reload. You can reset scope magnification, off or on, controller vibration, typical stuff we're used to seeing in PC options, right? You have mouse button inversion, mouse scroll wheel inversion. You have normal inverted. You have a cursor lock, off or on. Okay, let's go ahead and move over to the camera options. You can get there by hitting R1 or right bumper. And then here we have the camera inversion for controller. You have normal gameplay. You can invert your Y-axis. You have that for when aiming. You have a detailed view, right? This is all controls of how you look in the menu is what we're talking about here. Then we have maximum camera speed. So this is a little pro tip, all right? So if you're using a gamepad, what I did is I turned up the normal gameplay camera and it really made it nice and sensitive, but it moves around very quickly. However, when you're aiming, I would almost lower the aiming all the way, not quite all the way down, but like right before it, because when you're aiming, you don't want to be like too sensitive. You'll see what I mean when you get into the gameplay. Moving down to camera acceleration controller, same thing here. You're going to have the normal gameplay and then when aiming. In fact, I may even dump this down a little bit further here. I did try turning the acceleration all the way off. That's a big no-no. You don't want to do that. It's not what you're thinking. When you turn it all the way off, it actually makes your controller, the aiming, move extremely slow. So I would just go ahead and crank that up there, okay? Moving down to camera inversion mouse, all the options are here. Normal gameplay when aiming, detailed view, and then camera sensitivity for your mouse. You have normal gameplay when aiming. And then check this out. Ta-da! There is a field of view slider. Now it's not gonna pull, the camera way out super far like you're thinking, but thumbs up. And I was just told by someone in chat right now who mentioned that this is in the console version as well for Xbox Series XS and PS5. It's also in the PC version. So we have your field of view by default will be right in the center on the 0 mark. And you have -1 all the way down to -5, I believe. And then you can go all the way up on the plus side and it pulls the camera away from Leon a little bit further out. So thumbs up, Capcom. Thanks for adding in a field of view on a game like this. That is awesome. And then you have motion sensor camera mode, and it says this: the camera will move based on the controller's motion sensor function. If you want that on or off, by default it is off. Then you have running camera assist, which is by default, you can run with R1 or L3 like we're all used to. It says change the camera mode for running. This only applies for when you're holding R1. And this is what it says here: horizontal and vertical, or horizontal are just completely off. I have it off by default. Then you have your camera wobble, which is on or off. I've had it on this whole time. The camera wobble is extremely minimal, not even a distraction whatsoever. So I left mine on. Moving over to the meat and potatoes of the PC settings. So we have the display. I am using HDR on right now. And you have your brightness setting here from darker brighter, brighter. You have this typical stuff. So if you played RE2 Remake, 3 Remake, 7, and 8 Village, you'll see that none of this is new. It's all very recognizable, which is awesome. You have your display area, right? Increase, decrease of that. Then you have tutorial messages, which is really good. So if you're on a second playthrough, or if you don't even like tutorial messages at all, you can turn it off completely. I think I have mine on by default, if I'm not mistaken. Next up is HUD. You can have off or on or simple. I think that's new to the franchise. So you have on, off, simple, and then from simple, you can go in and knock out, what you don't like versus what you do like. So I have mine all on. You do have a dot display if you're one of those that likes to have a dot as you're moving your camera around. In my opinion, I don't care for it, but some of you may love that. You have damage display. This is awesome. How many of you, and drop a comment, seriously, drop a comment and let me know, do you like having damage display on as a vignette? Yes or no, right? I'm willing to bet most of you will say, no, you don't like it, right? Some of you may enjoy it, but here we go. Check it out. Damage display off, weak and strong, right? You see the image on the right side of your screen here. I turned mine off. So again, Capcom, awesome. 2 thumbs up for allowing us to, make our game look how we like it, right? HUD opacity, you have low, medium, and high, right? So you look on the right side. I like it on high so you can see your HUD, but that's awesome. I love that. The sight settings color is the same as the other games. For some of you that have a hard time seeing your reticle or the arc or any of that stuff, my recommendation, turn it to green, because the white looks like this, right? And when you're on a game like this, the white you would think would like really bleed out and look really good where you can see it. In my humble opinion, I would change this to a green. For some reason, the green really stands out. That's just my opinion, okay? You have a laser sight color as well. You can see on screen exactly what I'm talking about. The green looks really good. Again, fiddle around with that. The fact that it's even here is really cool. The biosensor scope, you have type A, type B, Type C. I left it on default Type A. Your color space, because I'm using HDR, we're doing Rec 2020. I believe there's Rec 709 as well if you're using SDR as well. So it's all here. Okay, here we go with the graphics settings, right? Okay, let's go ahead and check this out. These are my specs off to the right. So if any of you guys are asking, what is Oxford King using? What's his system setup? What is it? So right now I'm using a 13th gen Intel 13900K. I have 64 gigs of RAM, 5200 speed with a 40 CAS latency speed, in case you're wondering. The GPU is an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti. It is a EVGA for the Win 3 edition, in case you're wondering. And there's your VRAM usage right there at the bottom. And then the GPU driver version, I have the latest driver. Screen resolution, in this video, we are doing 4K, but I'm going to upload to YouTube in 1440p. The reason you see a refresh rate of 60 hertz is because I'm currently streaming the game right now. During the middle of this recording, I'm streaming. And I always like to lock my refresh rate to the frames of the stream so that the viewer gets a smooth experience. So I want to explain why I do that. Can the game run at 120? Your frame rate, you have variable, 120, 60, 30. I'll leave it on variable. Seems to work with all these RE games. Display mode, full screen, borderless windowed, back to full screen. I just messed up the HDR doing that. I'll leave that in the video because let's test out the HDR mode so that we can turn on the HDR mode when you disable it. By the way, if you're using Windows 11, make sure that Windows 11 HDR is turned on in the operating system first. Make sure it's on in the operating system and then hop into the game and turn on HDR. If you have the Windows 11 HDR turned off and you come into the game, it'll act like you don't have an HDR display. I hate that, but it is what it is. So again, pro tip, turn Windows 11 HDR on first and then come into the game and turn it on. All right, cool. Next up is we have the vertical synchronization, so VSync. I have mine off because I have an on-in NVIDIA control panel. Now, this is really cool to see. I've never seen this in the Resident Evil game before. Cinematic resolution. Your options are full HD or 4K. I think that is super sick. So 4K cinematic resolution, yes, please. All right. Now, we do have your scaling resolutions for your upscale or downscale types. Unfortunately, there's no DLSS. So yeah, that kind of sucks. So they did stick with what they do in their other games. So you have FSR 1.0. You also have FSR version 2. So if you choose to do that. So with the FSR 2, you have quality, balance, and performance. And then ultra performance. Those are your options. And then FSR 1 is ultra quality, balance, and performance. You can turn that off if you choose to do so. Just so you know, we are running the game at a native resolution. We aren't using any of these. The image quality goes to 90%, 80, 70, 60, 50, up to 200%. Be careful of that because if your VRAM can't handle it, it'll probably slow your game down like it's doing me right now. I'm out of VRAM, so the game may crash. In my opinion, I would leave the image quality at 100. There's really no need to, crank it up even higher. If you're on a 4K display, if you're on 1440p or 1080, bump up the image quality to 110, 120, but be cautious cognizant of your VRAM. Always watch that VRAM. In fact, right now I see my VRAM is in the orange. I don't want that. I want the VRAM down and the white font or the white text, just to be on the safe side. But we'll check it out a little bit later in this video to make sure I can bring that down. We have rendering mode interlace versus normal. This game runs perfectly fine with normal, but if you're having any performance issues on PC, I would recommend that you come here first. Go to the rendering mode and select interlace. I'm willing to bet you'll get a performance boost with interlace, just like the other games, okay? Anti-aliasing type. If you want to get rid of the overly sharpened look in Resident Evil games, I would recommend just sticking with TAA. There's really no need to do FXAA plus TAA in my humble opinion, because TAA takes care of all of the aliasing or artifacting you're going to see, especially with fine lines like hair and grass foliage. Just keep it on TAA. There's no need to go like double up on the AA. My humble opinion. Next up is going to be your texture quality recommended VRAM. You're going to have all the way down to, oh, look at that. I didn't even know this. It goes down even lower. There's no gigabytes used at all. You can go to 0.25, 0.5, and you can go to high. You have 1 gig of high of the VRAM usage. Now I have mine typically on 3 to 4, depending. I want to keep the color of the font to the right off of the orange area. I want it to be the white font. Texture filtering, we have the anisotropic filtering at X16. You have X842. Then you have trilinear and bilinear. Typical stuff from the other games. Mesh quality is max, high, mid, low, right? Back to max. Shadow quality, you have max, which jacks up the VRAM usage by quite a bit, so be cognizant of the shadow quality. You have high, mid, low. For these games, I always leave it on mid. I don't really see a difference in high and mid because you're running around so much and not stopping and looking at shadows too often. So for me, I would free up resources and just use mid. You saw my system settings at the start of the video, so you know exactly where I stand with that. Shadow cache, recommend that you do this. This is off or on. I would always do caching of anything in any game. Contact shadows, if you see off and on, you'll see the ambient occlusion or the way the shadow cascades up against objects in 3D environments. I would recommend that you leave it on if you want that extra fidelity of shadows, just my opinion. Now this one's new to me. This is ambient occlusion. So you have fidelity FX and you have CACAO. I don't know what any of that means other than the AO. But if you use the standard screen space ambient occlusion, which is SSAO, you're gonna see that it's very, very plain Jane. We want the new stuff, right? So when I toggle it back and forth, you're gonna see just how much more depth you have with your shadows with the fidelity FX, okay? Volumetric lighting is on max. So I'll tell you what, if you're having a problem with performance, come here second, okay? After interlaced, right? Come here. Volumetric lighting can really lower your performance if you're not careful. So if you're like, man, I can't get the performance I want, come to volumetric anything and lower it to like mid or low. I have mine on max, hasn't been a problem. Particle lighting effects, you have the options of low and high. That's it. There's no max, there's no mid, in case you're wondering. Particle effects look really, really awesome. You can see on screen with low versus high what it's showing there. Bloom, this is off, this is on. For me, I like bloom in this game. Screen space reflection is turned off because we're using ray tracing. We have ray tracing turned on. Subsurface scattering is off versus on. On you definitely want because it actually shows some reflections and kind of the oils of his skin or any character of the game. That's something really cool. It's been in the previous games, right? This is something new here. Check this out. I do not remember seeing this in the PlayStation 5 version, but look at this. Here's Leon's hair with the hair strands options off. Okay, here's it normal, and then here's it high. Off, normal, and high. It looks amazing, even in the game. Stick around to the end of the video. I'm gonna show you some examples of just how smooth this game runs with all of these settings on, okay? So we have high there. Graphics, graphic dismemberment. Check this out. Off doesn't show the dismemberment. On shows the dismemberment. How sick is that, right? Huge thumbs up. Capcom's knocking it out of the park with the PC version. Persistent corpse, check this out. You can do few or many. Those are your two options. So what does this do? Basically, when you kill enemies, who's gonna linger around on the ground, right? Few or many. I think that's pretty awesome. Corpse physics, you don't see this too often in these games, if ever. You have low physics and high physics, okay? And if you notice the motion quality on the bottom right corner with the checkbox, it goes way up to the max, okay? Now, this is something interesting here. Diverse enemy animations, on versus off. So what this means is, it says this, toggle tailor-made animations for certain enemies. Tailor-made. So if you want like cookie cutter animations, you want everyone to move the same, you can turn that off. And I think they did this for several reasons. One is performance, but two, I bet you, this is my opinion, I think people of the OG kind of like everything having that same look with all the enemies, right? Kind of a nostalgic factor. so turn it off. But if you want every single enemy in the game to have their own individual physics and animations, leave this on. I think that is an awesome touch. I can't even believe they even added that. Now you have motion blur off and on. I'll be honest with you, and again, this is just my subjective opinion. I had played this game, the demo, with the motion blur off, and I actually went to go turn it on, and I'm glad I did. They handled motion blur in this game beautifully. Don't let this example image fool you. The way they give you the example here makes Leon's jacket like overly blurry. That's not the case at all. When you have this on, your camera, the way you spin it around, definitely smoothens things out, and the motion blur is not overly done. It's super well balanced, my opinion. Now here we go with the rain quality. I kind of laughed when I saw this. I haven't seen the rain in the demo. I don't think it rains at all in the demo, if I'm not mistaken. But we all know about the rain that looks like icicles, right? And I heard someone in chat had mentioned that they're gonna fix or correct the rain quality in the final build of the game. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it is true based on what everybody's telling me. But in the demo, you have a low and high quality of the rain. I left mine on high, but again, I never saw it rain in the demo. Now look at this. This is why I'm making a video. This is exactly why. Look at all the options here, man. You have terrain, which is, if you don't know what this is tessellation or parallax mapping, but they specifically say turns tessellation to enhance the terrain graphics on or off. If you don't know what tessellation is, it basically allows like this mimicking look of everything with like raised volume of like rocks, rubble, bricks, things like that, leaves. They're levitating above the 3D plane. So back in the day, you had that 3D flat plane and did everything by bit mapping or just 2D sprites. Now we have tessellation, parallax mapping. It makes everything that has, levitations and height really, really cool. I left it on, and let me tell you something, you do notice it. When you're walking or running down these little areas in the woods and stuff, you're gonna see immediately the terrain differences of the levels. I think it's super sick. And the fact that you even allowed us to turn this off and on, huge thumbs up. Now check this out, destructible environments. This is gonna be off versus on. I mean, it's pretty clear what the picture's showing us, but they put this in the game. So basically you have destructible environments with physics on or completely off and kind of leave it like OG style. So they really thought about, okay, we wanna have fans come in and say we love the OG, or can we allow fans to accept the fact that there's new technology with us with physics and the like. So this was on by default. Lens flare looks like this off and on. I think the lens flare is perfect. There's some games that overdo lens flare and it looks absolutely ridiculous. This game handles lens flare perfectly fine, so leave it on if you want to. Lens distortion, this was in the other games too. I'm not a fan of it, but you have on with chromatic aberration, or just on in general. With off, it makes the image appear flat, which is what I like. With an on, it gives like a concave look, which I'm not a big fan of, my opinion, so I leave it off. Depth of field is handled really, really well. You have off or on. I think the depth of field is handled perfectly fine. It's not over intrusive. It doesn't look like it's overly done or some gimmick. I think it's well balanced, in my opinion. Next up is resource intense lighting quality. So again, this is why I wanted to do a video, because we're not used to seeing all of these options in the other titles. I mean, this is insane what we have at our fingertips to help get our game experience running even smoother. So if you notice here, resource intense lighting quality, you have low versus high. There's no like off, there's no mid, and there's no max, so it's just low and high. And you can see in the example what they're showing with the shadows cascading. Next up is resource intense effects quality. So what this is basically whenever someone's walking in the mud or the rain, you're gonna see footprints and things like that remain on the screen. If you're not a fan of that, or if you wanna free up resources on your computer, put it on low. The other option is just high. So again, low and high like the one above it. Moving over to language, we have voice language, English, French, Italian, German, Spanish, Russian, Mandarin, Chinese, Brazilian, Portuguese, Japanese, and back to English. So awesome with the voice language. Display language is probably gonna be the same thing. So there's your voice or display language for your subtitles. Subtitles off and on. You have closed captioning subtitles off and on, just like that. Subtitle size, you have small, medium, and large, and then you have subtitle background opacity. You're seeing a lot more of that in games these days, which I'm a big fan of. Subtitle color, which I think is great. I actually did not know this was even in the game. Another reason why I want to do this video, because the speaker name, I like to have the speaker name on and a different color. So I think that is super sick, especially for you streamer content creators out there. I think it's a really good thing to have. So what I'm probably gonna do right here in the recording is I'm probably gonna have the speaker name to blue. Yeah, let's do blue, and then that's your setup for your subtitles. So I think that is super great. Moving Moving over to audio, we have volume settings. You have your master voice, background music, sound effects volume, and menu volume. All of these here, just like before. You have ballistic impact volume, large, normal, and small. Okay, I left mine on normal. This is to adjust the volume of gunshot, impact, gunshot, anything that has that overly loud impact. You know how when you're watching a movie or a TV show and like the voices are really low and they're like whispering, and all of a sudden they do like some scene where it's real cinematic and lots of explosions, and they make that like overly loud. Here, it's like a normalizer. So when something like spikes above a certain decibel level, this setting here keeps it down at the normal level. So I think that is crazy that they even added that in here. I kept mine at normal. Your audio output device is TV low pitched, headphones, home theater. So I left mine on TV for now. Speaker orientation, which is super awesome. You have on or off, and then you have your front, left, and right, 30 degrees, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, all the way up to 90. So it goes from 20 to 90 degrees on speaker orientation. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna leave mine at a 45-degree angle. I wanna test that out, see how that works. Didn't even know that was in the game. Then you have your surround sound here in the back in case you wanna do that. Then you have surround back. You can adjust that as well. So 145 and 45, kind of keep it there. You know what I'm saying? I think that's super cool. They have 3D audio in the game, which I actually did not know. Turns 3D audio on and off. This utilizes the 3D audio settings of your PC. I'm actually surprised they can't turn that on right now. It's grayed out for off and on. In the other games, I could turn it on in the middle of a gameplay. So I'm curious to see if I can get that on later. Sound reverberation is off or on. So good to know there's a ton of different settings in here. In fact, let me see if the headphones adjust that. No, they don't. Okay, I'll have to play around with that later, but those are your audio options. And check this out. I think this is new to the series, accessibility. I don't remember seeing accessibility in any of the other Resident Evil games. So you have a preset for visual accessibility, preset for auditory, and then motion sickness as well. So these are presets. So you're going to select this. It'll say, okay, do you have a visual accessibility challenge? If you do, select this. Okay, you have an audio accessibility challenge. If you do, select that. And again, for motion sickness, if you're really sensitive to motion sickness, you turn this on. It'll make sure the entire game is set for these challenges you have for accessibility. And then finally, you have server. You can share your RENet play data and then share data with Capcom at ID if you choose to do so. So let's go ahead and hop into the game real quick. If you made it this far in the video, you guys drop a like and consider subscribing as well. We cover a lot of Resident Evil 4 remake content here on the channel, reaction videos, live streams, etc., YouTube shorts. It's all here, one-stop shop. So backing out of the menu here, I'm gonna go ahead and show you exactly how this game looks and feels. Let's go ahead and give it a look. Okay, so here we go with the gameplay of Resident Evil 4 Remake on PC. And like I mentioned earlier, we do have ray tracing turned on, all of the settings pretty much on max. If you remember, we have shadows turned to mid or medium. That is literally it. You guys, this is how the game looks and runs on PC. There's no micro stuttering. There's no performance issues. We have all the bells and whistles turned on. And this is Resident Evil 4 and all of its beauty. If you're wondering what the PlayStation 5 performance mode looks like, click on my live tab. We stream the game right here on the channel, and you're gonna see exactly how the PS5 performance mode looks. And then hop over to the PC version. You're gonna notice a huge difference. And the difference is the texture quality, the clarity, the physics, the hair physics in Leon's hair. Everything is dialed up to an 11 on the PC version. And as a mainly PC version player, right, that's my main, gaming platform, I am beyond excited that Capcom had so much care into the PC version. You can see there's a plethora of options to maximize your gaming experience on the PC version. I would not worry about, oh my goodness, if I purchase the PC version, am I going to be stuck with terrible performance? Micro stutters? Is the game going to have issues performing? Right now, with this demo, the answer is no. I think you're going to have the peace of mind knowing that the game looks and performs perfectly fine on PC. So if you're fortunate enough to have the option between console and PC and you have a good enough PC, my recommendation is to pick this up on PC. You will not be disappointed. Do the console versions look and run great? Yeah, they do. But the PC version is like that extra cherry on top of the cake, or whatever you want to call it. It's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I hope this video was of help to you to decide whether or not you want to pick up the PC version. For one, I am going to play this on PC, and it does support ultra wide. For those that are out there wondering, the game fully supports ultra wide, no third-party mods, no flawless widescreen. It works right out of the box. So again, guys, if you found this video helpful, drop a like, consider subscribing, and catch future Resident Evil 4 Remake content here on the channel. Thanks again, guys. Take it easy. Bye-bye.